It's been a while since I've watched anime, and because of that, I had the dumb idea to start watching it in alphabetical order, using the MyAnimeList database, and record my journey. Before we begin, I want to make sure we're on the same page, so I've set up some guidelines that I'll be following. Firstly, I'll watch everything to the best of my abilities, and yes, that will include those as well, and the best I can find. Being subbed or no subs, Japanese, Chinese, Korean, English, it doesn't matter. This will also include that if I'm unable to find it online, but there's physical media of it, I'll try my best to get it, if I'm financially able to. I'm not going to watch anime out of order, so if I come across the second season of an anime, I'll watch the first season before it. It doesn't matter where it is on the list. I'm unsure with specials, OVAs and such, so I do need some feedback on how to handle those, but for now I'll look at them case by case for what would be the best option. Not yet aired and ongoing anime will be skipped, though I've seen some entries where the anime is labeled as ongoing, but with the last episode of that anime being aired months to years ago, though those instances are rare. I'll be semi-reviewing the anime, mostly generally talking about and giving some critique and my general thoughts on them. I'll be sure to give them a score using the MyAnimeList scoring system and either a recommendation or not. And lastly, just as a note, a lot of the entries will be very short since quite a few are just one episode or video that's just a couple minutes long. And that will be it for now. If there are some changes, I'll make sure to mention them, but for now, let's start with the numbers and symbols, with the first entry being Socket is a short 3-minute animation made by Abe Shiori. The animation was a student project from the Nagoya Zokei University. It follows a girl with an electrical cord coming out of her back, who's exhausted from lack of electricity. Basically just hunger or thirst, because she doesn't have money to buy any. Eventually she finds a cat, which she tries to tempt into to get its electricity, but the cat is the same as her, just totally out. Together they try to get food by any means possible, from the ground or stealing it, but with no luck. The ending is kind of funny, so I won't spoil that, so go check it out if you're curious. It's only 3 minutes, so it's an easy watch. It's overall a cute little animation. You definitely notice it being a student project, since there is some lacking quality. The animation is good, though the sound mixing isn't great. The voice acting is also pretty decent. If you've listened to some anime music or Japanese artists, you've probably come across this in your recommendation. A totally blank title and channel name. This artist is called X0O0X_, a Japanese Vocaloid artist, and that's basically their shtick. A lot of their songs are just blank titles. This particular song, just called, follows a girl playing a game called Hitori Kakurenbo, or one player hide and seek, which is a creepypasta or paranormal game originating from Japan. It's a ritual type game that is played with a stuffed toy and definitely falls in line with those other scary 3 AM challenges that people did. But that's basically what the song is about. Speaking of, I quite like the song. It's a bop and the music video is great too. I don't really have much to comment on, it's good, go check it out. Next entry is .hack GU Returner. an OVA from the .hack franchise. A big franchise consisting of multiple anime and movies, released alongside multiple games, with OVAs, specials, as well as manga and light novels. But .hack Geo Returner isn't the first entry of the franchise, and because of our guidelines we need to go back to 2002 with Sign is set in an MMORPG called The World, and the story revolves around Tsukasa being unable to log out, and a rumored item to exist in the game called the Key of the Twilight, which is described as being able to bypass the system of the world, which is cool, I guess. It's honestly a super broad description that doesn't say much of what it actually is able to do, so it doesn't really hook you in as much as it should. There are a lot of these little things that are either really surface level or poorly explained. An example, if you were to ask, how do you play this game? Well, who knows? The only thing shown is this headgear, and that's as much as the anime gives you. So I play MMORPGs myself, casually playing old school RuneScape and only a little bit of Final Fantasy XIV. And you would think with the world being labeled as an MMORPG as well, that the massive world would play a big part as well. But no, the focus of the anime is the characters and the story only. The world and the setting gets zero development, and you can easily swap them around without impacting the story, which is a shame since some of the places are really cool. Sign is mainly focused on the mystery surrounding Tsukasa being unable to log out, and the Key of the Twilight, and with it being 26 episodes, you would think that some major plot twist would happen, but it doesn't. It's a super slow anime that mainly focuses on development of the characters and the character conflicts, rather than progressing the story or developing the setting. There are several sources that say that the anime throws in red herrings and misleads the viewer, but it really doesn't feel like it because of how slow the anime goes. At least the characters and their development are good, to a degree. Most of the characters are pretty distinct and they're decent to like, except I just didn't really like the main character. In the first moment of the first episode, he comes across as pretty rude, telling another character called Mimuru that she's annoying and to leave him alone. Which, sure, but you don't have to be a dick about it. There are quite a few of these weird little moments where he says these things that just feel off to me. And you can argue that the anime themes are about mental health things, like loneliness, anxiety, depression, and that's why he acts the way he does. But I'm of the opinion that your mental health is an excuse to be an ass to others. And this applies here as well. Kase can tell Mimuru that he wants to be left alone, but telling her immediately on meeting her that she's annoying is just unnecessary. And the character still won't help him for whatever reason, if someone is acting like that towards me. Even with the mystery of them being unable to log out. I would find the mystery cool, but I wouldn't interact with said person because of the way they act. So the whole part that the characters want to help him feels pretty forced and unnatural. There are otherwise some great character moments, but other than that, it hasn't really much to offer. And if you were looking for intense action-packed moments, don't watch this, it will bore you to death. The anime has great characters and character development, but that's really its only strong point.
なんなのこの人たち。昨日助けたやつに似てない？戦闘中だってのにもう。
Intermezzo is the first of 3 specials that comes out after .hack Sign. It's a 1-episode story about an experience Mimuru had when she first started playing. The world has a returning event that's a never-ending dungeon to which Mimuru wants to go back to and takes Bear along. After the intro of that, you go back to when that event first appeared with different characters. 2 unnamed ones and Mimika, a character controlled by 3 players. The story itself isn't that interesting and is kinda bland. Up until the end I didn't even know that the small girl character is supposed to be Mimuru. Every aspect of this special is pretty much surface level, but that's understandable since it's just 1 episode. But it also doesn't add anything, so it can easily be skipped. The second special of .hack Sign. This is more a light-hearted episode where the characters from the main series celebrate something. I don't know what exactly, they just get invited by Helba from .hack Sign. This includes the characters from the .hack games which I've not played and won since this is an anime-only series, so it's a bit weird to suddenly see them here. Overall the special is fine, it's just a run-of-the-mill character celebrating after defeating the boss type of episodes. Though because of the inclusion of the characters from the game it's more confusing when you've not played them.
ならば犯人は温泉にいる。ならばで OK。よし、ならばこの勝負こっちがもらった。
Included with the game .hack Quarantine was a DVD with the OVA .hack Gift. It follows the main cast from both .hack Sign and the .hack games as they are invited to a hot spring, one they have to find with only the clue being the word gift. This OVA is a comedy with a lot of in-jokes from the franchise. The characters are also drawn in a kind of super abstract chibi style. A lot of the jokes I didn't really get since I don't know anything about the franchise, but I still enjoyed it.
何があった？お前はなぜ帰ってこれた？
覚えてません。わかりません。
Liminality is a 4-part OVA that was included with the .hack PlayStation 2 game series. Infection, Mutation, Outbreak and Quarantine. Each of them contained one episode of the OVA. It takes place outside of the game and it follows a character called Misane Mai, who woke up from a short coma after playing the game. The world. 6 others, including the boyfriend of Mai, are in a coma as well, and with the help of the ex-director of CC Corp, the creators of the world, Tokuaka Junichiro, they try to get to the bottom of the mystery surrounding it. It's a nice addition to .hack Sign and explains some of the motives of the villain that is in it. As a whole, it's not as strong as Sign, the characters are simpler, the music is okay, and episodes 2 and 3 are kinda filler. 2 especially since in that episode you follow Aihara Yuki, one of the main cast, and Asaba Kaoru for basically the whole episode trying to escape from inside a cinema that got set on fire by someone. It's never really properly explained who exactly did it, other than the system inside the world, which doesn't really make much sense since it's a computer program that can't just set something on fire even if it was sentient. That episode does introduce Ayara Yuki, but it could have been done a lot better and in a more interesting way. Episode 3 on the other hand just got kinda confusing. Tokuaka Junichiro and Tono Kyoko are basically set out on a search through various historic sites that are kinda connected to the whole mystery, but it's quite convoluted and eventually just hardly matters to the mystery as a whole. The only thing that really is of importance is towards the end, where you actually get the motive and the story of the main villain from .hack Sign. It's a nice addition, so if you do have the time and are interested in more of the story, I do recommend you check it out.
レベル1のモンスターよ。
レベル 1？
うん。
へえ。レナ、下がってろ。可愛い妹は俺が守る。
お兄ちゃん。
.hack Legend of the Twilight is a more light-hearted series. It is set in the same world as .hack Sign and it's more shonen oriented. It follows Shugo and Reina, who enter a competition to win the legendary characters Kite and Black Rose, which are from the games, which I have not played, and the show assumes you actually know who they are. Anyways, after winning those characters, they enter the world for the first time. They're siblings, twins to be exact, and are living far apart from one another, so it's the only way they can see each other. In the world, strange things start to happen, and they get attacked by an unbeatable monster. After dying to the monster, Shugo gets a bracelet from a little girl that says that he's the only one that can save the world. After coming back, he defeats the monster with the bracelet. It's just classic shonen stuff. I'll be going into some spoiler territories here. So people inside the world, after their character dies, the person behind them goes into coma. It's basically the same thing happening again from Sign and Liminality. This at some point happens to Reina as well. After she dies, she becomes some sort of ghost thing and floats away to an inaccessible area. The other characters don't know this, so they go to search for her in-game, but Shugo is her brother, so if he's unable to find her, why doesn't he just call her to ask where she is, you know, outside of the game? They of course don't know that she's in a coma, but that's still one of the first things you would think of if you can't find someone in game. Just send them a text or call them and ask where they are. But no, they run around for a full episode looking for her. Another thing is that the relationship between Shugo and Reina is kinda weird, almost moving towards incestuous with the way they act around one another. They also get super annoying because they keep shouting their names at one another. Most of the characters are just kinda bland and forgettable. The ones that are behind all of this are just a couple kids, though they are controlled by another entity inside the game. Why are they doing this? I don't know. The only hint of motivation of the villain in this story, something which is only told all the way at the end of the final episode, is that she wants to know what true death feels like. Which, sure, but why does she want to know that? It's never explained and makes the whole motive just lackluster. Legend of the Twilight is very different from .hack Sign, where Sign is more serious in nature and the characters are more complex but lack anything else. Legend of the Twilight just falls flat on basically everything. Bland to annoying characters, uninteresting villains and a predictable story.
大岡さんとミレイユってリアルでも知り合いなの？まあな。僕一人でも行くからね。
The special is a little odd. It's told with still backgrounds and the characters are portrayed as floating head icons. The story is pretty basic, as Hotaru and Sanjuro are coming to Japan from the US. Hotaru got separated from Sanjuro and locked into the world, inside an internet cafe. The only problem being that he doesn't have any money on him to pay for it, so the other characters are going to try and fight Hotaru to help him, even though the special only consists of backgrounds and floating heads. I still very much enjoyed it. It's cute and wholesome and I definitely recommend watching it if you decide to check out the main series.
何それ？お前に持っていてほしい特別なアイテムだ。
Roots is the third full anime of the .hack franchise, though this time it does not take place in the world, but in the world R:2. We follow Haso, who just started playing the game. His start in-game isn't great since he got betrayed by a group of players, though he gets rescued by a guy called Ovan. Ovan tells Haso that he has a gift and asks if he would like to join his guild, the Twilight Brigade. Eventually, after some convincing of Ovan, another player from the guild called Chino, he joins them. Together with Sakasaka and Tebi, the two other members, they are on a mission to, you guessed it, find the key of the Twilight. This entry in the franchise is kind of the same as Sign, of course with different characters as such, but the premise at the start at least is the same. But execution wise, it's so much worse. As to why, I'll go into spoiler territory again, so I'll tell you now. If you enjoyed Sign, I only slightly recommend you watch it up until episode 14, otherwise it's just not worth your time. Now for the spoiler part. The world, as with Sign, has taken a life on its own, though to a much bigger extent since it creates big areas on its own, now called Lost Grounds. In these areas the players can find items known as virus cores, which they believe will help them find the key of the Twilight. The show starts out promising with some nice interactions between all the characters from the Twilight Brigade and another guild that is after the key called Tan, but this is already where some of my issues come in. The purpose of the key, they claim, is again that it's able to bypass the system of the world, which is cool and all, but it's way too broad to be interesting and it doesn't explain why all the players want it. Oven really wants it and made a whole guild for it, but his motives are never explained. The others are after it because they find Oven interesting and Tan is after it just so Oven doesn't have it. It's all just so weird. Eventually Haso figures out the easiest puzzle ever, since the virus cores all have cores that are colored and they link to the same colored pillars in one of the Lost Grounds. So to give you a scope of how far we are into the show, they had a suspicion that the virus cores are linked to the key of the Twilight and tried to search for them here and there. They only really came on to focus around episode 7. Haso figures out what to do with them in episode 8 and they have them all and use them all to get to the key in episodes 9 and 10. And as you can imagine, the pacing of the show is pretty bad and it doesn't get better after this. Eventually they get to the area where the key would reside, but they get followed by Tan. Oven goes alone to get the key, with the others trying to hold them off, but only fights the leader of Tan, Naobi. How did he get there? Who knows? Naobi says something about Oven's character data being interesting and just rips it out of him, which I don't want to come across as pedantic, and I do think the rule of cool can and should be applied to some extent, but this is really too much. It happens in Sign as well, but Roots has it so much worse. It clings to the concept of the world being a game and just makes things up whenever it's convenient. Oven gets stuck in some weird plane inside the game, so Naobi, or at this time Master Yatta, can study him, eventually trying to open his arm, but after doing so a bright flash of light comes from it and Oven disappears. They hypothesize that it has to do with something they call the Factor, but what it is never explained, which happens a lot in the second half of the show. Roots is a prequel of the GU games, but because of this there are so many things that get mentioned as build up for those games, so much so that it all becomes such a confusing mess to a point of it being frustrating. Anyways, back to the story. Around episode 11 you start to see glimpses of Kite, or Tri-Edge as they call him here, the guy from the games and the Legend of the Twilight, but in more zombie-like form. It takes until episode 14 that he's even going to do something, and even then you wouldn't know what's going on with him. The only thing he does at the end of episode 14 is kill Shino in game. And guess what? A character gets deleted and she goes in a coma IRL. After episode 14, it's honestly not worth watching. A lot of the minor characters get replaced with others, but these replacements aren't memorable and really bland. There are some okay ones, but they all just have one personality trait and that's it. The story moves at a snail pace and none of the mysteries get resolved. Absolutely nothing happens, except for Hazuo going into even edgier mode when Shino gets killed, which takes until episode 24. Yes, 10 episodes to even get close to resolving, and not even in a good way. He wants to take revenge on Triage, finally finding him in episode 24, and gets killed almost instantly by him too. And that scene just isn't very good. There's no build up and it's over way too fast for you to even process that he got killed. But because he has that factor thing, he doesn't go in a coma like Shino did. His character does get reset, and in episode 25, he's fine. No build up, nothing. Just an immediate 180 flip. This whole show should have been 12 to 14 episodes. Those first 14 are decent, but the rest after is just a whole bunch of nothing. Nothing gets resolved. Certain stills just stay on screen for way too long, and you get whole scenes without edits as flashbacks at times, which just feels like unnecessary padding. There are definitely some interesting characters like Philo and Tabaraya, and the music is on par with .hack Sign, but it can't hold up the anime. If you like Sign, go watch until episode 14 and see how far you can get after. Otherwise, don't bother.
久しぶりだな、ハセオ。旅団が解体されて以来か。
半年だ。半年もの間、あんた何してた
.hack GU Trilogy is a sequel movie to Roots. It starts out before the meeting with Hazuo and Triage in the church. While searching for Triage, Hazuo meets another character called Atuli, who has the same character model as Shino. Atuli and Hazuo basically become instant friends, since a big part of it is very rushed, since the movie is adapted from 3 of the .hack games, Rebirth, Reminisce and Redemption, and the movie is only 1.5 hours long. After the meeting between the two, the same events happen as with the ending to Roots. Hazuo meets Ovan and he tells him that Triage can appear at the church at any moment. So Hazuo rushes to it. The fight scene between the two is a lot better than what it was in the anime, since the animation style is CG this time around, though more towards a game cutscene rather than what other CG anime have used. It's very nicely done, though some of the expressions can be a bit uncanny, but this only happens a handful of times. Hazuo gets promptly defeated by Triage again and is reset to level 1. He gets invited to the headquarters of the former head of Tan, Naobi, whose character is named Master Yatta this time around. Together with 2 others, Spy and Kun, they explain the situation. The world is infected by an AI, basically acting like a virus, which they call Ida, informing Hazuo that he's an epitaph user, though not awakened yet, which was what they call Defector in Roots. They need him on their team to get rid of the virus, and since he's seeking revenge on Triage, their goals align. Hazuo agrees and seeks out Triage, getting into another fight with him, to which the same events happen again as before. He gets easily defeated, but this time around his epitaph powers finally awaken. With his new powers, he's finally able to defeat Triage. This all happens in the first 30 minutes. The pacing of the movie goes very quickly. Too quickly at times to where characters like Atuli don't get any introduction and don't get developed properly. It goes from one intense scene to another, so there's little time to settle down and to process what is happening on screen. Certain things just happen, and they get to places that are just there without explanation. Quite a few mysteries and motives from Roots do get resolved in the movie, but because the story of the movie is so rushed and a lot of the aforementioned aspects don't get any explanation, you just end up with more questions than you get answers. The decision to make a 1.5 hour movie out of the story of 3 games was bound to feel rushed. But with all that said, is this a good movie? Yeah, to a degree. The movie is filled with action and intense moments that are very good, but the moment you stop to think about some of the details and the mess of unexplained aspects start to appear. Watch it if you decide to check out Roots. You only really need to watch it until episode 14 to be able to understand the movie, but it is one way you need to turn your brain off to be able to enjoy.
お客様の現在のポイントでは誠に残念ながらここまでしか見ることができます。
Parody Mode is a 6-minute extra that was accompanied with the Trilogy DVD. It has certain scenes from the movie redubbed by the voice actors with general in-jokes from the .hack franchise. This honestly is more for the big fans of the franchise rather than a casual viewer like myself. Certain jokes were quite funny, but there are also moments with references to specific things that just went right over my head.
ハセオ見て見てハセオ
This OVA is similar to Unison. All the main and support cast are invited to a festival by Alvan, though with 2 characters that haven't been seen before in all the previous entries. The only major thing that really happens in this OVA is that the cast comes across an Ida, to which at first they assume as a threat, but after a bit realize it's friendly, and refer to it as a Chim Chim. The rest of the OVA is them having fun at the festival. It's nothing special and kind of forgettable.
なんだどうしようなんか踏んじゃった
Quantum is a 3-episode OVA released in 2011 and is set in the world again. It follows Sakuya, Tobias and Mary, who tries to take on a high-end raid boss called the Unison. Though not trying to fight it, they sneak around it to try to get to the loot. While they do that, a big guild comes into the arena and do try to take on the boss. As they curiously watch on, Sakuya tries to take a closer look to take screenshots. As she does, she triggers a trap, creating giant pitfalls inside the arena, wiping the guild. The Unison changes its target towards the girls and chases them out, and they barely escape from it. The next day at school, Tobias sees a notice for a bounty set on Sakuya, made by the guild. But because of exams, Sakuya is the only one that logs into the game that day after school. And as you can guess, she immediately gets hunted down by some guys of what she assumed is the guild, but in reality, the ones that set up the bounty were mercenaries hired by the guild to help with the raid boss. After briefly escaping the mercenaries, she meets a small animal player called Hermit, though the interaction is short-lived as the mercenaries find them and capture them. Eventually they get rescued by Tobias and Mary. The guild in the meantime is also in pursuit, trying to find the mercenaries that set up the bounty. A big chase sequence goes on in some kind of clockwork tower when Sakuya and Hermit get cornered. The mercenaries kick away Hermit to his death as they try to get to Sakuya. As Hermit falls and dies, he suddenly creates a giant black hole and sucks everyone in it, transporting them to a barren wasteland, with in the middle a giant tree-like structure with cages with people in it hanging from its branches. Everyone that got transported to this barren wasteland suddenly feels physical pain. When they realize this, everyone tries to log out, when out of nowhere a black-like demon appears and kills Mary instantly and hurting Sakuya in the process. This was the first episode, and it's honestly how I wished Sign and the Roots were. Quantum shows both the real world and the in-game one, and it's actually treated as a game with interfaces and shows some mechanical aspects. It has the same premise as every other show in the Dot Hack franchise, but its execution is one of the best out of all of them. It unfortunately still has quite a few problems, some of which is seen before in the GU Trilogy movie, where on the surface it seems like a really good anime, but once you stop and try to think on some of the character motives, you quickly notice that there are quite a few aspects left unanswered, but it's not as bad as in the Trilogy movie. The characters are still very likable and distinct from one another, and the story that it does try to tell does hook you in. This really should have been a 12-episode anime to give time to develop the characters and explain some of the plot hooks. But even if it's only 3 episodes, it was still an enjoyable watch and one of the best entries of the franchise, and I do recommend you check it out. You can go into it without having seen the other anime, though this can cause some confusion because of some of the buzzwords that are used in it. The Quantum OVA series is available on Blu-ray and DVD, and with those come this special. It's very short, only 3 episodes with 3 minutes per one. It follows the main girls as Chim Chims, the purple blobs that are in the games and seen once during the Dot Hack G Returner special. This special was kinda difficult to find, only really finding it on Nico Nico. Though because of that, it was without subs and I only understood very little of it with my limited Japanese. Though from what I understood in these episodes, they tried to explain different concepts of quantum physics and thought experiments surrounding it. For example, in the 3rd episode, Tobias tried to explain the concept of Schrödinger's cat to Mary and Sakuya. The special was nice and the purple blobs are cute. It's worth a watch if you have the DVD since it's quite difficult to find otherwise.
それ NPC だよ。
NP？ プレイヤーじゃないキャラ。動かしてる人いないから、プログラムされた同じことしか言わない。
The second movie of the franchise, Beyond the World. It follows Sora, a high school girl that knows nothing about video games, though the MMORPG The World is gaining popularity in her class, and she gets pressured into trying it, especially after finding out that her strict grandfather got hooked on it as well. Being finally convinced, she makes her character called Kite and goes in. While starting out, she stumbles into a courtyard, where she meets a girl in a white dress with white hair, getting attacked by a giant black mass, with the help of some of the official security androids from the world. As they focus on keeping the black mass pass away, the girl in the white dress approaches Sora and gives her a mysterious cube and disappears without saying anything. The security androids promptly defeat the black mass and disappear as well, leaving Sora alone, confused as to what just happened. The next day, Sora tells her classmates that she started playing, and they help her level up and get used to the games and its controls. There's one detail I really like. At a certain point, she's with Tanaka and Okano, two of the side characters. While explaining some of the game and its history, you can see the character of Tanaka move up his glasses, even though his character doesn't wear any in-game. I don't know why, but I just really like that detail. Anyways, the movie basically has the same premise as all the others in the franchise, as you probably could have guessed. Just with the new coat of paint. It does get a little tiring that they aren't innovating anything new, but the movie was still enjoyable. Though there are certain moments that do feel kinda off. As an example, in-game Sora mixes up the characters of Tanaka and Okano. While alone with Okano, he tells her that he likes her, though Sora thinks that it's Tanaka that confesses to her. This plot hook just kinda goes nowhere, and only at the end does Sora realize her mix-up of the characters. The funny bit of mixing up of the characters could have been done a lot better, and the confession does feel forced and a bit out of place in the movie. The movie is also about 75% build up to the ending, and while the ending is okay, it just misses something, though I can't really pinpoint as to what exactly it misses. I think it might be that the climax of the ending is kinda lackluster. A lot of the focus and character development in the movie is on Sora. Even though there are a lot of side characters, they don't get nearly enough development to make them interesting or memorable, which I do think is unfortunate. The grandfather, for example, has some focus at the start, but he totally disappears throughout the middle section, only appearing again in the game for the end, which I do really like since it's really awesome to see an older person play a game. The CGI for the movie is also kinda weird, since outside of the game the animation doesn't look good, like at all, but it does in game for whatever reason. The music for the most part is great too. Overall, the movie is okay and I do recommend it if it seems interesting to you. The Thanatos Report was included with the Beyond the World movie. This one episode special ties the story of the movie and the game .Act Versus together. It follows David, a character from the US that is part of the Network Analysis Bureau. He appears in Beyond the World as well, as he tries to escape from a secret society called Mama. The secret society were the villains behind what happened with the world in the movie. It was a bit hard to follow since I haven't played the game that it ties into, but I did get the gist of it. It was a bit odd to suddenly see the special being made in 2D animation instead of the CG that was used in the movie, and it was surprisingly more graphic than all the other entries in the .Act franchise.